we're demanding was a thorough, independent investigation into the unjust imprisonment of our family, like I said, for 3,200 years. Now, we met with Wilson Goode, the first black mayor of Philadelphia.
Quote unquote black, but I get your point.
Well, we met with him when he was managing director, told him about our family and how we wanted one thorough investigation into their, unjust imprisonment. And he admitted that he knew Move got a raw deal in court, and should he become mayor, because he already had plans to run for mayor, should he become mayor, that was the first thing on his agenda, to deal with the injustice of what happened with my family in '78. After we met with him, after he became mayor, we could not get a hold of him. He would not return our calls. He would not see us. He just ignored us, turned us completely off. So, that's why we had to take matters into our own hands and demonstrate through a bullhorn, let people know, inform people of what was happening with our family, Innocent people go to prison every day, and I'm sure you know that.
Absolutely.
But people don't respond to that the way they should. I mean, we were not going to sit back quietly in frustration while our family sat in prison for 100 years each. We were not going to do that. That's why we had the demonstrations that we had. We put, a bullhorn on our house, and people in the neighborhood, in Osage Avenue and Pine Street and, around that area, used to come by on Sunday afternoons. That's where we started, on Sunday afternoon. And they would listen to what we were saying and ask us questions, So the information was getting out there. People were beginning to understand why we were, doing what we were doing. And the government, the system could not have that. They could not afford that example to be out there and for people to be encouraged to follow that example. The example of John Africa is so powerful. I mean, John Africa never went the system's way, but the system started coming John Africa's way. I mean, look at your hair. You got hair like ours,
In court.
John Africa told us, when people start making fun of our hair, don't worry about it. Before you know it, a lot of people are going to be wearing their hair like this. Celebrities, famous people, and what do you see today? You see celebrated football players with locks hanging under their helmets.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You see actors and actresses, all kind of famous people wearing their hair in locks. So what John Africa taught us came to fruition. Now, the same with natural childbirth. John Africa taught encouraged Move women to have their babies naturally. No other species of life take their babies or go to a hospital to have their babies. They give birth naturally. Now the system is encouraging that. Move people breastfeed our babies, because none of the processed food that you can buy in the stores is as healthy and strong enough for a baby like mother's breast milk. So John Africa initiated that, set that example, and now people are starting to follow it. The system is telling people breastfeeding your baby is the best thing. John Africa coordinated a raw food diet. Now, when people first found out about that, they were like, Raw food. You can't feed your children raw food. It'll make them sick, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But now, it's obvious through our children and through us that raw food makes you strong, that it's the best food for you, and you don't see any other form of life cooking their food. They eat it the way God intended. And the main thing that John Africa taught us is the reverence for life, the coordinating force of life, Mother Nature, our mama, nothing would be here. We would not be here. There would be no life without our belief, without Mother Nature. I mean, she's the force that moves the water to keep it from stagnating. She's the force that moves the air to keep us able to breathe it. She's the force that coordinates you to go to sleep despite how much you want to stay awake, and wakes you up. That force is coordinated by nature, by mama. So she's the force that pushes food up through the ground to feed us, to feed all life. That's what John Africa taught us to revere, and to look to, That's why we're still in move today.